Chad. And you'll have 5 minutes.
Small apology in advance. I write these things down so I don't screw them up, but then I just realized I screwed something up. So if it's a little discombobulated, I apologize. Try to clarify it later. My name is Chad Bishop. I live at 7405 South Valencia Drive here in Sioux Falls. I'm representing myself. Please understand my intention here is to ask intelligent questions and not to question your intelligence. Any sense of frustration on my part is not directed at yourselves, but the situation we find ourselves in. First, I want to commend you on this public statement made by the district via Twitter on November 3rd. The Sioux Falls School District does not require COVID-19 vaccination for children. Students will not be asked to show proof of their COVID-19 vaccination status. Please discuss the opportunity with your child's healthcare provider and make the best decision for you and your family. You have my strongest support for continuing this policy in the face of ever-increasing federal overreach, not just for your students, but for your staff. On August 23rd, I addressed this body asking you to update your Continue to Learn plan by acknowledging the status of COVID-19 recovered students as equivalent to that of the voluntarily vaccinated. This was prior to August 25th release of the large Israeli study showing that, to summarize, people given both doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine were almost 6-fold more likely to contract Delta infection and 7-fold more likely to have symptomatic disease than those who recovered. What does this mean in terms of absolute risk reduction for the COVID-19 recovered? This is of particular interest because the government of Israel has mandated vaccination of the entire population except children. Therefore, they have had little motivation to call into question the efficacy of their own policy. Instead, for children, Israel kicked off COVID-19 antibody testing for 1.4 million, where a positive result would serve as the equivalent to that of vaccination. Given this, I would ask that you consider classifying all COVID-19 recovered district employees and students as having equivalent immunity to or better than the voluntarily vaccinated, as well as reimbursing all district employees for SARS-CoV-2 antibody or adaptive T-cell response assays. Are you aware that antibody assays exist that allow you to discern between the S-type IgG antibodies conferred by the existing vaccines under EUA and the N-type IgG antibodies conferred only upon the recovery from infection? The implication being that it's possible to discern COVID-19 recovered status even in a voluntarily vaccinated person, which would potentially obviate the need for continuous booster shots. As the largest school district in the state with over 1,800 teachers and 24,000 students, what you do here matters. On October 17th, the Argus Leader reported, what that means is better than 99% of all South Dakotans who have either been vaccinated or recovered from COVID-19 have not tested positive or tested positive a second time. On October 22nd, the Argus Leader reported, on the dropping number of cases in our public schools, by now it's obvious that infection among the school-age population is dependent on what is happening in the wider community and not on masks. The implication being that this population has probably had the highest rate of prior immunity. But again, why don't we know? Why was the serology not done in South Dakota? Given this and the public data visible below, I encourage you to follow along. Is this still an emergency in South Dakota, warranting the vaccination of children? The E in EUA is for emergency. Is there an emergency among children warranting the authorization of the vaccine for the administration to children? In the context of masking, this has been a topic of contention in this chamber. I have heard some members wonder aloud if it isn't because they have all already had it. If that is a possibility, please consider the following. December 4th, 2020, President-elect Biden, when asked, no, I don't think vaccines should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand it be mandatory when asked about vaccine mandates. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki on July 25th of this year. That's not the role of the federal government when asked about vaccine mandates. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi on April 29th of this year. So here's the thing. We cannot require someone to be vaccinated. That's just not what we do. It is a matter of privacy to know who or who isn't. Now we have both public and private vaccination mandates. People's livelihoods, careers, and reputations are being destroyed. 3 weeks ago, the Director of Medical Ethics at the University of California, Irvine, Dr. Aaron Cariotti, asked this question on Twitter. Someone fully vaccinated with the J&J vaccine is, per the data submitted to the FDA, 67% protected against infection, whereas those with natural immunity are 99% protected against reinfection. Why is the first group included and the second group excluded from the workplace. If the district is faced with this question through ever-expanding federal mandates, I would implore you to ask more questions of the experts available to you. While doing so, you should keep in mind a 1969 article written for the American Association of Physics Teachers titled, "What is Science?" where Dr. Richard Feynman makes a peculiar statement: science is the belief in the ignorance of experts. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chad. You got that time down right.